You gonna come over and join me over here, or are they gonna do, I guess? All right, set my phone down. Somebody tell me when it's noon and we'll get started at noon.
11:59.
All right, Brad, I'll count. You get my official countdown. The what?
Upper limit switch. Do you know about that?
Upper limit switch, I'm not sure.
Heating unit.
Oh. That means if it gets too high, they'll cut it off. Mr. Broders, what's the countdown?
12 o'clock.
Very good. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Doug McGowan, the president of Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. Certainly been a tough couple of days for our community that started Christmas Eve with some unexpected rolling blackouts that were mandated by unusually high energy use across the entire southeast, and some challenges for our energy provider, not just our energy provider, but all of them, to meet the increased demand, especially with the cold temperatures. I'm pleased that by Christmas Eve we were able to get all of our customers restored, with the exception of 30 that had individual outages at their homes that were subsequently worked on. So I want to thank all of our linesmen and all of our troubleshooters who worked in incredibly arduous conditions, single-digit temperatures, to get everybody back on. Obviously, as you all know, there has been some energy conservation efforts underway. The TVA grid is stable. We are well below the maximum power, so the probability of anything like that happening in the near future is low. We also had, as a result of the cold temperatures, water, and that's what I'm going to focus on today. So we really have two critical concerns, and that is people and businesses that don't have any water, and people that are suffering from low water pressure, because that has impacts on operations for critical facilities like hospitals. So both of those are caused by the same thing, which are breaks in our water main system and our distribution system, and increasingly breaks in individual homes, individual businesses, and in very large facilities that have fire protection systems that have suffered failures. And when they fail, that means water is coming out at a very high volume. So what we are doing to prevent those, or to prevent low pressure and no pressure. First, obviously, we are pumping water out of the ground at our wells. We are sending that to our water plants, and there are 9 of them. Those 9 systems are operating at a stable level. They're generating water, and they are pushing water out into our distribution system. Our distribution system is what suffered 22 breaks, 22 main breaks. 19 of those have been repaired, and our crews are fixing the other 3. Now, we had only had 19 breaks last night. 3 happened overnight, so we're on those today, and we expect to have those repaired very quickly. The other thing our team is doing is customer cutoffs. So when a business has a water break, a customer has a water break, they will go out and help the customer secure the water to prevent any further damage. And then finally, what we are doing is, for critical facilities like hospitals, we are working with our partners at Shelby County Emergency Management, the City of Memphis, and other partners who are willing to help us provide tankers. Those are the big tanker trucks that bring water that can be connected directly to a building. The principal need there is for boilers, the boilers that provide heat and steam and sterilization at our hospitals. Now, we can't do that for every building, so we only do that for the critical buildings. Should we need additional resources, we will look everywhere to get additional tankers. Today, we have tankers from fire companies from several surrounding counties who have brought them here. If we need more, we will request more, and we'll get them for wherever we can. I want to emphasize the importance of these breaks on the drops in pressure. Our system can be working very well. Our wells can be pulling water, our pumps and our pumping stations can be pushing it out. But when there is a break, like I mentioned with a fire protection system, some of those fire protection systems have a 10-inch diameter pipe. That's as large as some of our water mains. So if one building has a fire protection break, that can literally drain the water out of an entire main. And no matter how much pressure I push, how much water I push, it's going to come out of that path of least resistance, which is where that break is. What that means to all of us is that we can't get the water past that to people's homes. So until we fix that, until we secure that leak, we cannot get water downstream to other people who do not suffer breaks. That's why it's incredibly important for people, if you see water coming from a building, to tell us. If you're a business owner, you need to get out and check your business to make sure you're not suffering. You're going to have trauma because there's going to be a lot of water damage, first of all. But second of all, let us get out there and help you secure the water to that building. So far, we have repaired 22 of those fire main breaks. As temperatures heat up, we know that more breaks will happen as things thaw out. This morning, we have fixed 177, not fixed, we have cut off 177 leaks for businesses and homeowners. And we have about another 122 that we're still working on. That's just since last night. We had another couple hundred yesterday. We expect that to increase today. And that obviously has a dramatic impact on our ability to deliver pressurized water to your home. For the MLGW team and our contracted partners, this is an all-hands-on-deck effort. This is not just the water crews. Our gas crews they're doing their work for gas, but when they are not repairing something related to gas, they are searching for searching for water leaks. They are out helping to cut off water when necessary because of a leak. The same with our electrical crews who are qualified to do the work. They are out there helping. Police, fire, public works from some of our communities are out helping us find and locate those leaks so that we can then go cut them off. I appreciate the partnership of everybody who has come together to help us. Today is an epitome of some of that partnership. You're here at the Lamar, we're reporting from the Lamar Community Center, where this is one of our 3 water distribution sites. We're trying to do our part for individuals who have no water at their home so that we can give you some drinking water. We are also distributing at Millington. There was a question about why Millington, because we have a community service center in Millington that serves the north half of the county. And remember, we serve all of the county, north of Millington, south of Millington, in the city of Memphis, all around the county. So Millington is one, Lamar Avenue is another, and down in Whitehaven is a 3rd water distribution. We'll be doing that between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. today. We had at least 5 pallets of water delivered to all of those locations. We have had some donations, and I want to recognize Mr. Fred Jones from the Southern Heritage Classic, who purchased 100 cases of water and delivered them to us today, and the Omega Psi Phi fraternity, the Lemoyne-Owen chapter, who also brought water quite unexpectedly without anybody asking and dropped it off here. So we have a wonderful community of partners who are willing to help when we need it. The last thing I'll say is I want to thank all of the friends and neighbors who came together to help their neighbors in this time, because that's really where the help is happening, and I know that. People are staying with other people. People are making sure that their friends and neighbors are taken care of, and that's what I'm the most proud of. When our community needs us, our neighbors step up and help each other. So thank you all for continuing that work. Our job is to get out there and try to secure as many breaks as we can, get the pressure back up, and get you all the water that you need. I will close with one before I take questions. When will the fixes be complete, and when will the boil water be lifted? I will know today better about when we forecast having the system back and operating. Why? As I mentioned, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we didn't have many people in those unoccupied buildings. Now that they're back, we're getting a lot of reports of breaks, and that will help us really fix those. So I'll have a better handle on when I can get that restored. Once I get the system fully pressurized, I then have to test it. By regulation, I have to test the water to make sure that there's nothing wrong with it. And then the state has to validate that test, and then I can lift it. Principle for me is to get people water, then to increase water pressure, and then we'll worry about lifting the boil order a little later. But that will take a few days. So with that, I'll stop and take questions.
President McGowan, the living
Yes.
goal is in 2 days. How likely is it that thousands of people will have access to flushable toilets?
That is a focus of main effort for us. We were made aware of that early this morning, that there was a no water situation at the Liberty Bowl. They also had some breaks there. They had a couple of sprinklers break, and they had to secure their internal water. But we know around there, there's either low water pressure or no water pressure. When I talk about critical facilities, we want, obviously, our hospitals to stay operating. That's the number one thing, life safety. But that's a big event. 60,000 people coming to town. We want to make sure that we get that supported too. So if I can find a tanker to support that, first, I'd like to restore the power. Second, I'll make sure there's a backup so we can get that going. We will do everything we can to make sure it's a very successful event.
The City View Towers was reported, the residential tower hasn't had water for days, for like residential buildings, people without power.
Sure.
What are you all doing to help maybe bring water to them, or what's your message to them?
So that's exactly what we're doing here, Brad, is trying to make sure that those are buildings that suffer from lack of pressure. And so I know some of our partners are trying to bring some boost pumps that will help boost that pressure, especially in the towers. On the top floors, it's tough to get water to them. So number one, getting potable water we would hope that the building owners would come together to help bring some potable water, some bottled water to their residents. And number two, doing everything they can to make sure their internal systems are boosting water to the appropriate pressure.
What's a realistic timeline do you think we're looking for? I know this happened a couple
Sure.
of years ago. Do you think this could be, for people out there wondering, 3 to 5 days, a week before it's all back
Well,
to normal?
I think last time it took 4 to 5 days after, we identified all the leaks to get things pressurized and to get the final approval from the state. We're probably on a similar timeline here. It's just the physics of refilling all the water mains to get the pressure back up and then getting the boil water lifted. Earlier than that, we should be seeing pressures rise and more water to more people.
Some people are saying, okay, I don't have water myself. Why should I donate water when I don't have it myself? Or what are you all doing to bring in maybe your own water to help
Sure.
as well as raising this effort today?
Oh, no, I appreciate that. Most of the water you see here was procured by Memphis Light Gas and Water, so that we're trying to do that. If we have to do this again tomorrow, we will do so. We have asked some of our partners to make sure that there's ample supply that we can distribute. So we're not asking people that don't have water to donate water for sure. We're asking people who do have water and who have the ability to donate. We wanted to make this an opportunity for people who wanted to help to have an outlet so that they could help. But principally, this is a responsibility that we're taking on, and we have some big corporate partners who are helping us. There is help on the way from Tennessee Valley Authority has a truck on its way from Nashville here, a semi-truck full of water that will be here just a little later this afternoon.
We've gotten tips from senior living facilities, one in particular, St. Peter Manor on Poplar,
Okay.
elderly folks who can't get out to water donations like this
Sure.
to get that water, don't have water currently, said they've called MLGW, aren't getting a response. Is MLGW doing its part to check on those facilities that might have people who are handicapped, can't get out, to make sure that they have what they need?
Sure. Well, all of those buildings have one thing in common, and that's an administration that runs those facilities on a day-to-day basis. And I would ask the leadership of those facilities to make sure they're taking care of their patrons. Our job is to deliver water through our water system. I certainly cannot have our staff going to every single senior living facility delivering water. We would ask our community partners, the nonprofit partners that help us in many ways, to help do that. We understand that's a critical concern for people who can't get out, but for the administrations that run those operations, we would ask them to take part in making sure their residents have potable water to drink.
Do you have any idea, just roughly, we hear about all these different apartment complexes and stuff, like how many people are without water, or what percentage?
I don't have a good percentage for you right now. That is a dynamic number. We have seen ebbs and flows. Yesterday, I would have told you that it was just the northwestern part of Shelby County and southeastern part of Shelby County. What you just heard is now there's some areas in Midtown that are suffering. What our crews in the street are finding, and they're reporting back, is we are finding breaks everywhere now. So I'll come back to what I mentioned earlier. The bad news is when it's very cold, that's what causes the breaks. But there's a limited number of breaks that we can repair. When it begins to get warmer, that's good news that it's getting warmer. However, that's when all the leaks start happening. And so what we're seeing is a number of leaks in Midtown are dropping the pressures precipitously. Our water pumping stations are responding. We're trying to increase the pressure. in order to get some water through to people, but realize we're pushing more water out through those leaks while we're doing that. So last thing I'll say on that is I also have to be careful. We never want to lose those water treatment plants. There's a reservoir there, and we never want to run those dry, because if we do, then we're out of water for a much, much longer period of time. So the process we go through is we raise the pressure and push water out, and then when the reservoir gets to a level, we have to bring it back to an equalized level, fill the reservoir back up, and then we can push it back out again. So it's hard to say at any one place where we're having that, so it's hard to get a count.
A case of water is heavy. I mean, even just taking it across the Target parking lot, what about residents who don't have the means or transportation to pick it up today?
Sure. Well, that's why we would ask friends and neighbors who can help to please help. We have a limited workforce. I think it's most appropriate for our team to be out working to fix the infrastructure to get it back up and online. Though, as we always do in our community, we count on our community partners to help distribute water to people in need. And we are blessed with lots of nonprofits and lots of willing neighbors. And as the most giving city in America, I know there are people out willing to help. So I think you make a really good point. Please check on your neighbors. If you are able and you can get out, please check on your neighbors who you know can't get out, and make sure they have a resource that helps them be successful.
Is there any hindsight already with what we've experienced over the last weekend, anything that could have been done differently? I know a lot of it's up to Mother Nature, but anything that
Yeah.
MLGW could have done differently for, we
Sure.
just entered the winter season this year, anything that could have been done differently as we enter winter?
Well, that's a really good point, and it's good to highlight, because investing in our infrastructure, if you've been watching over the last couple of years, there was a 5-year plan called the Way Ahead for MLGW to do just that, to invest in infrastructure to make it more resilient. I want to zero in on the point that you just made. What could have been done better? So if this was last year, I would not have been able to tell you we're going to significantly increase pressures. We're going to push more water out, because we have gone through and upgraded a significant amount of the infrastructure at our wells, a significant amount of infrastructure at our pumping stations to give us the capability to do that. If we had not made those investments, we might have significantly more outages and significantly lower pressure. So it's not an answer for the whole system, but we are making improvements, and that is a demonstration of what we are able to do. I know people without water, it doesn't feel very good to know that we've done that, but it is important for people to understand that we are making those investments, and we're going to continue to do that. You heard me talk before with the electrical system. It's a 5-year plan. Well, it's tough to wait 5 years for improved reliability. So we're going to do everything we can to accelerate those improvements to our infrastructure.
Hey, Doug, I know some hotels are, speaking
Sure.
about the Liberty Bowl, hotels are offline. What's maybe about that? I know they're not hospitals, but what about hotels,
Right.
as we're getting ready for the Liberty Bowl?
Right. So we've heard a little bit about that too, and I know that I've heard from some of the hotel operators are doing all they can to make their guests comfortable. There's a limited amount of tankers that I can bring to bear, and I can't connect to every hotel either. So we're asking the community to come together and help each other when and where they can, make their facilities available to other patrons of neighboring facilities if and when you can. And we're hopeful that we'll be through that hard part in the next day or so.
It sounds like there's going to be some challenges for the Liberty Bowl 2 days from now around that,
Well,
hotels and the.
I heard last night from some people coming that my hotel has low pressure, so certainly people who are already in town are feeling that. But we're going to try to give the best experience we can for folks, especially at the game and at the stadium.
Have you been given any indication from TVA as to why more power wasn't generated for this for the storm that we just experienced? Like the forecast was
Yeah.
these temperatures, this weather, 2 weeks in advance we knew this was coming, and it can be assumed that the consumption rate will be there with it. Why was more power not generated for the storm where we had to experience these rolling blackouts?
Well, I don't have the answer to that exactly, but what I can say is that the amount of power that was consumed, I heard 2 things. I heard it was the most power that was ever consumed in the 89-year history of TVA, or the second most power. Certainly it was the most power ever consumed in the wintertime in the history of TVA, as evidenced by the fact that it was the first time they've ever had to do rolling blackouts than we ever have. And when I say the most, it was significantly more than they have ever done in their history. And as you know, we've had some pretty cold winters before. That's challenged with some generation. I'll let TVA, they're going to be better prepared to answer that question. And quite frankly, I haven't had time to dig in and ask why that occurred. We were just dealing with the issue at the time. We will have some answers for you at some point in the future.
Customers have seen repeated increases in their bills, they're paying more over the years. Is the quality of the infrastructure keeping up with their investment?
That's a good question. As you know, we did a rate increase, I want to say 4 years ago now, and haven't had a rate increase since then for electrical power. Now, gas is market price, so some people are seeing as gas goes up, they're paying more for the same amount of heat. That is just the price at which we purchase. Now, the gas system is in very good shape. We have made substantial investments there to keep our part of the price low. On the electrical side, the rate increase is aimed directly at these infrastructure improvements. It takes time to roll those out, and on the water improvements as well. So we want to deliver value. I can understand that frustration, but we're thankful that we have the resource to begin making the change. So any other questions?
Any other message, I guess, Doug, just to the public out there? I know this is a fluid situation.
It is a fluid situation. We do have dedicated folks on the front lines who are working arduously in pretty brutal conditions. We're thankful that today it's warming up. I know that there are customers of ours who had their holiday season interrupted and had to flex and have an experience in a hotel or spend it with a friend. Our team, most of our folks have been working 16-hour shifts in order to do what they can just to go get some rest and come back the next day. So I'm very thankful that we have people who are dedicated and willing to work like that. And they will continue to do so until we get us back up and online. So with that, I have to bring it to a close. Thank you all, and if we need an update tomorrow, we'll do the same thing.
Final question, Doug. How did this happen after it just happened 2 years ago? Should customers expect to lose water every time there's a cold snap like this?
I don't believe they should expect that. And so the last thing I'll say with that is when we did have the cold snap 2 years ago, it had a pretty deep impact on our infrastructure. I think we're still feeling some of the effects of that. As you know, we have 3,000 or 4,000 miles of water mains here that we have to maintain. It's tough to get around to all of those in that short period of time. But no, they should not expect to lose water every time. Thank you all.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.